WNST, a little bit of a respite. So if you put AM 1570 on, or you're listening out on our stream, or you're in the buyatoyota.com audio vault, I'm going to be headed to a place I've been once in my life that I'm headed back to, on a road that I've never been on, in some places that I've never been. I have been to all three of these states, Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana, but my wife's going to check 2 of the 3 off. This guy's on vacation. Everybody's on vacation. This is my weekly therapy session with Bill Cole from Cole Roofing. We welcome him in on the backside of Ray Lewis and my travails through the Midwest and Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Canton, Ohio. Billy, welcome in. I have my Cole Roofing mug here filled with Royal Farms fresh Kona blend. And I know you're like not on vacation, but like you travel a lot in the summer too. It's hard to get any work done in the summer, man. I mean, between the sports and the kids and the beach and the travel, and for you, you're in like Rochester, New York this week, right?
Yeah, it is tough. I'm happy to be here, man. It's good to catch up. Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone feels the pressure to try and get extra time with their family and their kids and all that. And
lots of family pictures on the timeline in summertime. I always know how much people's kids have grown because I see them in summer.
Right. You're forced to try and take that adventure that you've been wanting to do, and this seems like the best time.
Holiday Road. Yeah, that's where. So we're going to be doing that. I mean, I've already identified the world's largest ball of twine, which I think is second only to the one that you saw in Corning, New York, as you went through.
Right. Yeah. No, I unfortunately have never been to the 3 states you're headed to. So
really?
I'm excited to hear about your adventure. I'm very envious. It sounds wonderful.
I got to do Hawaii and Alaska. I've never done them. And I've told Marshall Yonda this. I've never been to Iowa. And I have never been to North or South Dakota. Other than that, I clicked Oregon off last year. I had never been to Oregon, but I've been. Now, there's a rule on travel. Are you aware of the official internationally known rule about whether you've been to a state or not?
No, I do not know this rule.
If you have flushed the toilet there, in my opinion, and that goes number 1, doesn't matter. If you flood, my wife is waving, get out of here, put some clothes on. My wife's getting ready for work. If you've been to the airport, so for me, Omaha, Nebraska, I got off the plane in Omaha. I went in, I got the world's worst slice of pizza. I peed, I flushed the toilet, I've been to Nebraska. Yes or no? You agree or disagree?
Not if the toilet is in the airport. That doesn't count.
It's in the airport. It's on the ground.
Nah, that doesn't count.
If you pee in the middle of Albuquerque in the airport and you flush the toilet, you've been to Albuquerque. You've been to New Mexico. So New Mexico and Nebraska, I don't want to say, you would say I've cheated. Same thing with Oklahoma. Well, not Oklahoma. I've been to Tulsa now. So Oklahoma I checked off a few years ago. That was a rush
concert. I'm not saying you cheated. I'm saying you deserve a deeper look at a state
at New Mexico
before you count it. I'm sure
now hold on.
Airport.
Hold on.
There's something more impressive than the airport.
Hold on. This is more important than that. We're going to Wyoming. Last year on the Tom Petty sojourn, where we first ventured into the Rocky Mountains and thought that Yellowstone would be a good idea, we got sort of inspired last year by Tom Petty and, Into the Great Wide Open, right? So, so I've been to Wyoming because Jen and I drove 82 miles, I don't know, I could Google map however far we drove, from Denver to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Like, Cheyenne's like a real place. It's a border town, but Cheyenne, Wyoming, at one point I had a reservation to go to Cheyenne Frontier Days to see the great Ronnie Milsap play, but I never made it there for that a bunch of years ago. But I made the sojourn up. We ate lunch at a beautiful burger bar. Jen bought a postcard and mailed it to Germany to Niels, who saved her life, from the Cheyenne post office, because that's what he does. He mails postcards from weird places, so we've taken on his thing now. I'm sure he'll get a postcard from Jackson, Wyoming before it's all over with. But we sent him this postcard. So does that qualify? Like, if you go in, take some selfies, eat a burger, have a beer, mail something, have we been to Wyoming?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. That qualifies. Okay.
Yeah.
How about Nova Scotia? Like, we went to, like, where the little windmill is, and we, like, hung out at the visitor center in Nova Scotia and took some pictures and then drove back in the month and no? Does that count for Nova Scotia or no?
I think it does. Look, I'm okay with the flush the toilet rule. I
spent 4 hours in the Copenhagen airport. Have I been to Denmark or not? My passport is stamped. Have I been to Denmark? The FBI would say I've been to Denmark.
Yeah, to me, if the toilet is in the airport, it doesn't qualify.
All right, then I've never been to New Mexico or Nebraska. Don't tell my wife you agree with her, all right? Just don't, whatever you do, don't do that. Bill Cole is here. He's here from Cole Roofing. We usually talk sports, but we're talking, you know what, I want to talk roofs with you because we'll get to Ray Lewis. I don't know what the hell to say about the Orioles. I mean, I literally contemplated, and I'm not being mean, taking them out of my Google Calendar. But I figure, like, for what I do for a living, on September 12th, I'm going to want to wake up and know that they are playing in, they're playing at home against the A's, who will be in the pennant race at that point. So, I mean, I'm leaving them in the schedule. But I want to talk about roofs, and, you know, we're flying out to Yellowstone, and all these fires are going on. And in all sincerity, dude, we checked the weather. We're going to land in Boise, Idaho on Friday at 12:30. What is the weather going to be in Boise, Idaho on Friday at 12:30, Bill Cole? Answer that question.
You acknowledge that I'm guessing?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Throw a dart. What should the weather be on August the 10th in Boise, Idaho? I mean, what do you think you're going to find when you get there?
85 and windy.
106. When we drive to Idaho Falls, it's different. The forecast, are you ready for the forecast? The forecast is 101 and, are you ready? Smoky. Smoky. That's what the forecast says. I mean, it's like our wide receiver, right? It's Smokey, right? It's like Smokey Robinson. You know, tell me about solar in roofs because, like, how hot does it get? And the only thing I have, and look, dude, I never went to college for science, okay? I mean, I once guessed on the periodic table and won a date with a girl who had a last name of Boron, you know, but here's the deal. I would say this. I mean, the James Bond man with the golden gun and the nuclear reactor when the sun hit the solar thing in the panel with Christopher Lee and Tattoo, that's all I know about solar, but I know it gets really, really hot on asphalt, and I can't imagine how hot it gets on roofs, especially on 106-degree days, and I know you are amongst those who are leading a way in our country to try to make solar something that is beyond something that burns your feet when you walk on the beach, right?
Yeah. The non-scientific approach is that it's hot as, you know,
Hades.
Whatever.
Hot as the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, so when we're doing a school roof, we're using hot asphalt, which compounds the problem. So if it's a 95-degree day, the roof by itself is probably 105 to 110. And then
so what you're saying is every roof I fly over everywhere that's black is sort of taking that on to some degree. And maybe that's why when I'm in Phoenix and taking off for San Diego, I think West Coast homes are kind of ugly. I think that sort of the adobe, you know, the red clay roofs that they have, I've always thought those were ugly. Maybe for a period piece, but I wouldn't want to live in one of those homes. But I've often wondered, like, why do the homes in the desert have those little red brick things on them? And, you know, and I guess there's way science into this at this point that maybe your parents and your grandparents who founded Cole Roofing almost 100 years ago didn't know about, right?
Yeah, I would not make the assumption that red clay terracotta tiles were based on any kind of science.
Fair enough.
I think that was based on availability of material, clay molding, and needing to build shelter from an occasional rain.
Okay.
Not a lot of rain, right? Because they don't get a lot of rain, but an occasional passing thunderstorm. So I don't think, the push away from black into white roofs, yes, that was driven by scientific data that says, hey, we should reflect some of the light, not absorb it all. And if we absorb it all, look at their heating and air conditioning costs. So
well, it's nice to absorb it if you're in Minnesota, right? Or in Barry Trotz's hometown of Dauphin, Manitoba, right? Like where, you know, in the winter there may be some benefit to that or no?
As with most things in science, they feverishly debate that. You know, the world has adopted an opinion that white roofs are better than black roofs.
Fair enough. Okay.
But you and I can take our common sense and say, unless I live in a cold place where I might have more heating days than cooling days, and in that case, I'd like to have a black roof instead of a white one. So, and our building codes and our heating and air conditioning codes and things like that, they don't leave a lot of room for that sort of grayness around that decision. They kind of stamp it one way or the other, and right now we're in the white roof mode.
Well, I'm just thinking, and I can get as political as the next guy one way or another, but on 106-degree days in Boise, and with the obvious, climate change toward warmer in every way, I would think using the sun would be even more significant. That's just a real baseline thought that I would have, and you're in the business of doing that with your solar panels, right?
Yeah, my approach to solar has, I'm with you. We could play any political game you want to play. At the end of the day, very pragmatic approach.
The sun works.
There's a giant fireball in the sky that takes puddles and dries them up and makes our blacktop hot to walk on. There's some sort of energy transfer that's going on there. Why wouldn't we want to capture that in some sort of cost-effective way? So to me, it just made sense. Taking it a step further and really smart people applying science to it, yeah, I love all that. But just the simple idea that we get this free fireball in the sky every day, we really should be.
And when that burns out, we should all we're all in a lot of trouble when that happens, right?
Well, sure, yeah. But as a society, we should be advanced enough to take advantage of that thing and do something good with it.
Cool. Cole Roofing. Go find him out on the web, and of course, I carry the coffee mug everywhere I go here in the mornings with my Royal Farms coffee. Also, Cole Roofing sponsoring our community and charity series. You'll hear that on Thursday mornings live on the internet, and then sprinkled throughout what we're doing. I got all sorts of cool stuff coming up, and some authors and some local people coming up booked in. If you need to get something promoted, an event promoted for a charitable cause, for a community organization, email me, nasty@WNST.net. I will slot you in on those Thursday mornings as I stay home and get ready for football season after one last sojourn here. And the Ray Lewis thing, in retrospect, it really was a wonderful weekend. I left Baltimore last week thinking I would not want to go back for Ed Reed. I had 20 people get off my bus and say, if you put Ed Reed together, we get back on your bus in a heartbeat and do it all over again. There's more about Cleveland we want to see. There's more things to see at the Hall of Fames. All of that. It really was a great weekend. Everybody on the trip had a great time. We did some baseball. We did some football. There's a lot of stuff I could tell you, and that I would tell you over a beer, and since we do this together every week, I would tell you this. I had 150 people on my trip. 75 of them opted on Sunday to get on the bus that was the express back to Baltimore to skip, literally, Bill. They had tickets to the game, downtown drop-off at the front door, 2 hours to walk in and around the stadium or in and around Regatta in Pittsburgh or in and around Pittsburgh on a beautiful, sun-drenched, cloud-covered, 82-degree, couldn't have been more perfect day in Pittsburgh. And more than half of the people on my trip said, take me home. I don't want to go to a baseball game. I don't want to go to Pittsburgh that I've already paid for. I thought that was kind of fascinating, that the difference between baseball and football people. The people that would get on a bus and go all the way out to sit in a football stadium on a 100-degree night, to walk around a football museum, to go to Cleveland and maybe go to a baseball game in Cleveland, wouldn't just walk off a bus in Pittsburgh to see maybe the nicest stadium in Pittsburgh. And if it's in the country, if Pittsburgh's not the nicest stadium, I want you to show me which one it is. I found that to be really weird, man. And where baseball is, that I don't even want to look at it, even if it's pretty, even if you drop me off at the front door, even if it's a place like Pittsburgh that I might not pass again. And then I got inside in Pittsburgh, and there's 11,000 people, and I kind of thought the Pirates stunk this year. And then I looked at the standings, and I'm like, they can still get in. I mean, they're still in the race. Really, really weird, dude. Really weird.
I think some of the stuff we talked about earlier about just summer being this time and everyone tries to jam as much in. I mean, it could just be something as simple as that. Like, I need to get home to cut the grass because I just spent 3 days in Cleveland, and we're
and
going
one ball
away.
game on Friday night's plenty for me, right?
Yeah, and we're going away 2 days later or next weekend, so I'm not going to. So it could just be that, but yeah, I mean, you're talking to a guy who probably would have been on the express bus home.
Wow. Okay, fair enough. You just wouldn't have had any interest in seeing the Pittsburgh ballpark.
Probably not after doing, all the other fun stuff that you did. Probably would have felt that, I had accomplished what I came out to accomplish and would have wanted to get home.
There you go. All right, well, enough said. So, I mean, you're in that other 50%, which should be really disturbing to the Orioles, that people have no interest in stopping off. I mean, literally, like, just stopping off and seeing a ballpark. That was always a big part of my baseball adventure, and I guess that was all borne out by the 30-30 tour I did. That being said, I went to a football stadium. First things first, dude. Football Hall of Fame, you've been, yes?
Nope, never been.
Okay, interest, yes or no?
Sure.
You should go. You should go when Ed
there.
Reed goes next year, and depending on who else is in the class or whatever, it's cool, man. And Cleveland's really, really nice. I mean, dare I say that they have cleaned Cleveland up. There's no graffiti, no trash, no bums, no squeegees, no give me $5, no here's a cup here. I live on this corner, the corner of Huron and Erie, and and this is what I do for. None of that going on in Cleveland right now. So I can promise you that. And the Hall of Fame really coming along, dude. Like place that your family would go and have a good time for a week, and I can highly recommend it.
Yeah, I want to do it. It's on the list.
Ray Lewis speech. You're giving it a thumbs up or down? What do you got?
I will go thumbs up. So he stayed true to who he is. He came out with the passion that we all fell in love with. You got to understand that God is important to Ray, and you just respect that. As you've got a little bit of the athletes always thanking God, cynicism about it. But true to Ray, that's kind of who he is. I thought he shared some good stories. And then they have the option to be retired and not do anything. And whether I agree politically or not with his perception of the universe, the fact is that it does sound like the guy is trying to continue to do good things.
He's always wanted to do that. Right. I don't think anybody's ever – he's done too many good things. For me personally, you know what I mean? Like to think that he's not innately trying hard to be a good dude, I mean, what's the line from Pulp Fiction, right? I'm trying really hard to be, to be that guy. And I think that's always – where Ray's come from and all of that. I thought it was all encompassed. I would have loved to have seen him work from the podium and do something more outside the box of what he usually does, right? And Billick and I talked about that. You can listen to that out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault. I sort of panned the speech because I didn't see anything about it that made me want to go back and watch it again. And we've aired it a little bit, and it's in the buyatoyota.com audio vault. But I don't think I'm going to come back to that 5 years from now and take something from it, other than the love thing, which is fine. But I tell you what, I almost want to go back and watch the Dawkins thing again, because part of it is when you're in the stadium, you're in the stadium, right? You're kind of distracted by stuff and whatever. You can kind of sort of hear it, but kind of sort of you hear the ambient sounds. And I think also the Jerry Kramer speech, there's a thing about that I would take another 18 minutes to go back and watch that again. But I don't want to go back and watch Ray again. I mean, I feel like I'll be watching Ray do that again. I feel like he's going to do that speech again, and that's why...
I think he's done it a number of times.
Correct.
That's why he delivered it as well as he did. Sure.
Yeah, and that's disappointing to me. I thought this was a different time for that. I thought this would have been more like a valedictorian type of thing. You know what I mean? Like from the way it would have been encompassed, and I didn't feel like that. I felt like it was the same speech he gives at the next YMCA that he's going to go and do for the boys club, which is wonderful. And those videos are available all over the internet, right? I mean, we've seen him preach at the casket of Steve McNair, right?
Right. And I agree, other than if the message of him, if he really believes that his job is to challenge the group of Hall of Famers to get out into their communities and cause more good, then it's hard to talk him out of using that platform to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Right? So, like, if that's that important, is it? I don't know. Does he really believe that and feel that way? I don't know. But I totally agree that we got his stock. This is who I am. This is what I'm trying to cause happen.
Hey, you know what? And
speech.
this is an interesting thing, right? And I have not discussed this with anybody, and so I'm just going to throw it out at you. Ray was always the most respected guy in the locker room, and I can tell you that heart to heart. I was there the first day he laced it up. I was there the day he hung it up. I'm still around. I have rarely seen anything like what Ray was, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and also empowered by the Rex Ryan, right, being in the middle of that, and a young Marvin Lewis on the front end of that, and sort of a wise Greg Madison and those kind of guys on the back end of the Maxie Bonds, and the people that were Donnie Henderson's, the people that were around him, right, and the people that he didn't always see eye to eye with, whether it was Billick or Mike Nolan or Coach X, whatever. They were coaches.
Sure.
Singletary. I think he butted heads with Singletary because they're both sort of alpha, right? So, but we have all of this to draw from in the same way that whenever Flacco's time will come, we'll talk about Zorn and, a million different people that were in their ear. Everyone loved, respected, listened to, even a Dion, right, that wasn't of Ray's era but sort of came back and brought Ray along. Rod Woodson, Shannon Sharp. All of those dudes, right, had respect for Ray. I don't know that Jim Brown or, that class, that older, that next Ozzy's age, those people, that Ray's now a new teammate on their team. I don't know how Terry Bradshaw or Dan Marino feels about Ray. You know what I mean? Like, if he's going to recruit that team to do something good, I think he could be the alpha dog in that group. But it would be very interesting to see how the old line, Larry Zonka family, that part of it feels next to this part of it, right? And but Ray can, for the next 20 years, Ray's going to take that platform. Dude, that Hall of Fame area, it's going to become Disney World. The next 20 years, it's going to be the Vegas, Orlando, where can I take my family that they all love football, right? And where can I take them someplace where there's an amusement park and a ride and a slip and slide and a miniature golf. I'm telling you, they're doing that in Canton, and that's what they're building there, and Ray can be a big part of that. But Ray has to get the buy-in from the Sharps and the Woodsons and all the guys, the Bettises, all the guys of his era, because those are going to be the do-gooders over the next 20 years, right? Those are going to be the guys who are going to be vibrant, doing golf out, all the stuff that raises money and funds and awareness for what they're trying to do as a Hall of Fame team, because I think Ray sees it that way, and I would agree with that.
The best example is what I perceived as a genuine, like, I can't believe I'm here out of Randy Moss, of like, we made it, I can't believe I'm here, I never really thought about this, I'm so excited, and like almost a kiddish nature of going into the Hall of Fame, and having Ray come to him and say, look, Randy, now what you need to do is you got to go build a football field in that town in West Virginia that you were just talking about. Let's make those kids' lives better. And Randy's going to look at him and say, yeah, you know what? You're right. I should probably do that.
But this is also a platform for them to beat on their chest once a year and say, here's what Ray did. Here's what Randy did. Here's what Terry Bradshaw did. Here's what, Franco Harris did. Here's what Jerome Bettis did. Here's what John Lynch is going to do when he gets in. I mean, I know it's important to Ed Reed. I know it's important to Ray Lewis. I know it's important to John Ogden. I've been around these guys. I know it's important to Brian Billick, which was one of the reasons he got involved here. And I think that needs to be the Ravens' legacy. And quite frankly, we talk about why people don't get off the bus in Pittsburgh. Well, what are the Orioles doing here, right? I mean, and every time you drive up 95, you look to the left, I don't see the Baltimore Orioles there. I see Cal Ripken there, right? I see what Cal's doing. I don't associate Cal's work with Peter's work, right?
No. And we all make an investment, 8 Sundays out of the year, plus your TV package, plus all this all the jerseys that are bought. Like people
don't say
make the
8, by the way, because I paid for my preseason this week. All right, I'm going to get my money's worth with Lamar Jackson. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But anyway,
so we make that investment only looking for halfway decent competitive football in return, right? But the thing that keeps you coming back for years and years is the good feelings associated with the brand that they need the other, 6 months out of the year to have those sort of things. So when the players take that money away for their work, if they are able to, impact the community in a good way, then I think it helps fill the stadium when the team sucks. And I think that's part of the give and get that goes on with the ridiculous money that is pro sports, right? Like the money is ridiculous. The ticket price is ridiculous. The salaries are ridiculous. But if people get reinforced, that feeling of goodness because they see, Ray doing something nice or Ed Reed doing something nice.
How about Adam Jones this week? $8,500 for the team, right?
Yeah.
Everybody saw that story, and when Adam Jones does something nice, it reflects well upon everyone, I believe.
Right. And it's not mandatory. And as long as it stays not mandatory, then it can have the impact that we're talking about. It can have that feeling, that building of the brand, that goodness that comes with supporting your team. So I just think that's part of the deal. I think it makes for a much more fulfilling, rooting sports interest type deal. It makes writing the check for the tickets easier to do. It makes seeing the salaries easier to do if you know that somebody's in their ear saying, hey, you should try and do some good with that money. So.
He is Bill Cole, Cole Roofing. You can find him out there as well as at Pfister Energy. I tip the coffee mug toward Cole Roofing all the time here in the mornings. And Billy joins me every week or two. We sit around and talk about things. Last thing for you, because we haven't talked a whole lot of sports and whatever because the Orioles are what they are and the Ravens aren't going to play a meaningful game until September 9th. But these preseason games, the home games, and these lousy, the last lousy game we have here, and the 11 days off between these games, I'm more interested in watching these games than I've been in a number of years. I think there's a lot to watch in the Ravens preseason, and I think they're going to do a nice number, and I think there's going to be a lot of conversation about the Ravens long before September 9th this year in a way we haven't seen in a couple of years. And by the way, Bill, and I keep saying this to everyone, I said it to John Harbaugh the other night in Canton, you guys are going to be good this year. I think the Ravens are going to be good this year. I'll be shocked if they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I wear my purple glasses, so I can always give you, 5 reasons why I think they're going to be good. I think there's enough to be curious about. So even if you're a little bitter over the last couple of years, they did enough to get you curious, and I think everybody's kind of ready. There certainly is very little competition for your attention span at this point. So anything we can do to actually watch a meaningful game or even it's only meaningful because the guy's trying to make the team, that's probably good enough as opposed to people going through the motions, swinging the bat and throwing the ball.
Boy, the more baseball I talk, the more depressing it gets. I mean, every person I talk to, they're like, dude, you're on the 5-year plan. I mean, that's the way it's perceived on the outside. And I'm like, but there is no plan. Right. I know we're on the 5-year plan because they haven't even set the plan yet. And from the minute they set the plan, it'll take 5 years. 15 new players in here, and I guess at some point you will see Luke and I broadcasting from Bowie.
Right.
Because that's where the action's going to be here over the next couple of years. Hey, Billy, take care of yourself, man. Enjoy Rottenchester up there. I fell in love in Geneseo once. Honk the horn on the way back, all right?
All right, I appreciate you. Thanks.
Stop and get the Polio string cheese. It's on the right. You'll see the factory.
Got it.
I'm not making that up. All right, there he goes, Bill Cole, Cole Roofing and Pfister Energy. My sort of internally built Dr. Melfi session here. Cole Roofing also sponsors our community and charity series, ramping that up for the fall every Thursday morning. I will be talking to local people about local stuff and charitable stuff and community stuff that you're doing, and I need to know about it. So throw me an email, nasty@WNST.net, and we will get you involved for whatever you're doing to raise funds, awareness, cause, want to tell a story, some good story to tell. I'm all for good storytelling. It's all brought to you by Cole Roofing. Also going to have some more sponsors for that as well. I'm out on the sales trail. I'm out on the sports trail. I'm out on the social media trail. I'm going to be getting on the Yellowstone trail for a couple of days. You'll be hearing a bunch of best of coming your way into next week around here at WNST. Some really cool stuff I haven't aired like ever or since the first time. So re-debuting some stuff as well as playing some of your favorites here at WNST. The BuyAToyota.com audio vault has it all. 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. Download that and use it wherever you go. The TuneIn Radio app works it. It's all brought to you by BuyAToyota.com. Morning newspaper ships digitally at 7 a.m. each and every morning to your email inbox. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness at PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. Guaranteed. It's also brought to you by the Maryland Jockey Club and Laurel. We have the entries for Laurel on the front page, WNST.net, 24 hours a day, as well as in the aforementioned morning newspaper that comes to your email inbox. Get down to Laurel. Check out the sports bar down there. Air-conditioned, lovely. They got the ball games on, the races on. Phenomenal crab cakes, cold beer, priced right. And it's all remodeled. Laurel Park. Get down there and check it out for yourself. Last but never least, if there is any breaking news and Adam Jones accepts a trade to the Yankees, you'll get it first on the WNST Tech Service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford up Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here this Thursday, next Thursday, preseason, in-season observations. And sometimes I join him too, and we yuck it up a little bit. It's the SSV on WNST, heard 3 until 5 each and every Thursday. And Dennis is here also providing our tech service. I am Nestor, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook where you can see my Led Zeppelin t-shirt and my Stanley Cup champs hat that I'm going to retire once hockey season begins. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.